Now, with just 3 days to the expiry of the Nigerian Labour Congress ultimatum to the federal government, recent meetings with the Ministry of Labour and Employment and Labour leaders have not yielded expected results. The NLC has demanded a 200% wages increase to workers, in addition to other demands made, including palliatives for workers and others. The NLC is also demanding a wage increase for workers in the country as inflation and the cost of living rises. The coming days will reveal more on yet another issue between the Nigerian government and the Labour Congress. Now, joining me tonight, Politics HQ is Comrade Amechi Asugwuni, former Deputy President of the NLC and Industrial Labour Relations Consultant. A warm welcome to you, Comrade Asugwuni. Thanks for joining us on Politics HQ tonight.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure.
Now, Comrade, could you provide some analysis of the economic difficulties faced by Nigerian workers today following the substantial increase in fuel price and the subsequent withdrawal of subsidies? What's the current reality of Nigerian workers following this major decisions taken by the Nigerian government?
Yes, like rightly pointed out, when we talk about wage, we are looking at a compensation that corresponds with the services rendered by workforce. And when a worker provides himself for work, having given your service, you are expected to be compensated by law. And when policies of government is seen to be promoting inflation that eventually erodes that value of currency as wage, is now more or less a burden or a responsibility on federal government to do what we call even wage award. And that was what some of us recommended. The federal government should be looking at Mr. President announcing a wage award to pushing the effect of subsidy removal, other economic factors as a result of inflation. And you all know the hike of petrol is not limited to the issue of, we are talking about Congress making demand for wage. The minimum wage is due 2024. And therefore it's expected that federal government should give this kind of understanding that rather than forcing minimum wage when it's not due, we believe that wage award will solve the immediate challenge. As I speak with you, 30,000 as minimum wage can no longer take a minimum worker anywhere, any market.
It's not a take-home salary. It can't take you anywhere. Now, Comrade, let's talk about something important you mentioned. You talked about this wage award. What do you make of the NLC's demand for 200% wage award? And how does this demand align with the current economic realities in Nigeria? We do know that most of Nigeria, the majority of the population is not engaged, is not employed by the federal government. So is this something that is feasible, this 200% wage demand increase?
I think the wage demand of 200,000, or as the case may be, don't forget, negotiation is about give and take. And therefore, the amount put forward as a demand by Nigerian Labour Congress, for me, is not unreasonable. Every economic indices will justify that such value, even as a minimum wage for Nigeria, should be a living wage. Because a wage can be minimum, at the same time be unacceptable by workers. But we're looking at how to achieve a decent and living wage. So the offer, the demand made by Nigerian Labour Congress is appropriate, and we are looking at wage award. Don't forget, the demand made by NLC is not on wage award. NLC is making that demand, should negotiation begin in earnest. And the wage award we're proposing is what can be offered without negotiation. Mr. President does not need anybody to negotiate with him about wage award. Wage award is like a grant for workers, considering the economic hardship that everybody seems to face.
It could make an executive order to implement that. Now, Comrade, as we begin to wrap up this conversation, the NLC, the Nigerian Labour Congress, said yesterday the federal government still has till Friday to meet its demands or risk another round of industrial unrest. Going from experience and your knowledge of industrial matters, do you think we can see a breakthrough before Friday, and what needs to be done from both sides in order to reach a breakthrough in these negotiations?
Yeah, because of experience, one thing you must know is when Labour, as Congress, when they begin with protest, we first of all registered a one-day warning protest, and that I think graduated to 2 days warning strike. And don't forget, membership are watching. Every step taken by NLC must conform with organ decision and also Constitution of Nigeria workers. So leadership is also guided not to make mistakes that eventually will stage them out. And therefore, it's expected of federal government to be holistic in its approach. I expected federal government to work out a template, both short-term and long-term measures that will be on the table. You don't wait until you come for negotiation and the argument at the end of the day will be a deadlock. Federal government should work out certain programs, including infrastructure, that will eventually create some balance in the mixed feeling of Nigerian workers, because there's no trust. And I'm seeing NLC is now being suspicious on federal government attitude. And that on its own is a threat to every negotiation. So we believe that federal government should come out with workable programs, including the alternative to the refinery we are proposing. If NLC has proposed that refinery must work as one of the strong demand in the long run, then what can be done at the immediate?
Okay, I really wish we could go on. Comrade Amechi Asugwuni, former Deputy President, NLC, and Industrial Labour Relations Consultant. But we've fast run out of time on the program. I'd like to say a big thank you to you for your time and for being part of today's Politics HQ. We'll continue to monitor situations and in Abuja negotiations, and hopefully we find a fine line and a compromise between the federal government and the Nigerian Labour Congress, which will favour majority of Nigerians. Thank you once again for being part of the program.
You're welcome. We hope we'll find solutions soonest.
Yes.